Hi there, my name is Jen and I'm coming to you today from my laundry room. Not because I want to be doing laundry today, but because this is where the baskets are in our house, and I want to introduce you to a concept called the basket exercise. And this is something that originates with the NVR or Nonviolent Resistance movement. It really is kind of a freeing caregiver tactic that helps us to focus on aggressive or extreme behaviors in our children and maybe takes some of the load and the pressure off our shoulders as caregivers. So let's dive in and talk about this. Okay, so I have my baskets all laid out here, and you can see I have a large basket, a medium basket, and a very tiny small basket, as well as something called a rainbow basket. It's multiple colors here, and I'll explain what that is in a minute. And basically these baskets are just props. You do not need to have multiple size baskets at home to do this. This is just to give you a visual of what I want you to be thinking about as a caregiver. A little bit of background about myself. If you haven't met me before, I am an adoptive parent from Ontario, Canada, and I have 6 children. I have biological children, adopted children. We have a kinship situation, as well as I have been a foster parent. So there's a lot going on in my home. And you've probably come to this video because you yourself as a caregiver have experienced some big behaviors in your home, likely aggressive behaviors that have been directed from your child or teenager towards yourself or other siblings in the home. So NVR or Nonviolent Resistance is a brand new approach that has come to North America that we are seeing a lot of success in caregivers learning how to non-violently resist what is happening in their home and take a stand against it and hopefully see some improvements in the dynamics and the relationships in their family. And the basket exercise is one part of that. And this is how it works. So the large, medium, and small baskets are going to represent sort of issues that you're dealing with in your home, okay? The large basket is going to be full of things that bother you, but you're not going to be dealing with right now. The medium basket is probably for things that don't just bother you, they bother everyone else, and they might be causing a lot of havoc in your home. Maybe there's some aggression happening in there. But again, we're not gonna deal with these things just now. And the small basket is really for what you have decided as a caregiver are your 1 or 2 major things that you are standing against at the moment and you really don't want to continue in your family. So I'm gonna show you an example with some props. The first thing you should be doing as a caregiver is deciding on the 1 or 2 things you wanna stand against and really resist that are gonna go in your small basket. I'm gonna use an example here. So I've got a hammer, and this hammer represents property damage. So perhaps there are holes in your walls, broken windows, broken dishes, and it is going in the small basket because that is one of the things we want to deal with as a family right away. This is just an example. It doesn't have to be the same in your own home. And then maybe another thing is verbal aggression. So I've got a little Playmobil character here who is a soldier and he's going to be representing someone who yells and screams and orders around, and maybe they're not yelling and screaming, maybe they're saying it very quietly, but they're being manipulative and kind of messing with everybody's emotions with the words that they're saying. That's going in the small basket, and that's it. And then you want to try to kind of make a list of what are some of the other behaviors that are happening in your home that are a big concern you might want to deal with eventually, but you're not going to deal with them right now. So maybe that's the report card that's come home that is full of failing grades. The report card represents school. So at the moment, you're not going to be dealing with that behavior. Maybe it's the cell phone. Maybe they just cannot get off their phone. They're bringing it to the table for supper. They're staying on it all night long. Again, that's a big concern, and we do want to deal with that eventually. But for the moment, we're only focusing on 2 things. So that cell phone, I'm popping that in the basket. Maybe it's gaming. This is such an old school little DS we have, but perhaps you've got a teenager or an older child who is constantly gaming and it drives you nuts. They're always in the basement gaming, they're in their bedroom gaming. Maybe that is a big deal in your home. Again, huge concern, but it's going in the medium basket. All right, the big basket. When you're really laser focused on trying to deal with certain behaviors, it's going to be too overwhelming for you to deal with everything. So right now in the big basket, we're gonna put things like leaving dirty socks all over the house, perhaps not cleaning up their towels and leaving them all over the bathroom floor. Maybe they're leaving dishes in their room, dirty dishes. Maybe they're not coming to the table to eat with you for a meal. Again, concerning, but that's going in the big basket. Maybe they're always eating junk food instead of healthy food, and that really bothers you and you think it's affecting their behavior. Again, concerning, but it's going in the big basket. Sleep. Maybe they are sleeping all day and they are awake all night, and that is really can be a really hard thing for a lot of caregivers to deal with. And maybe that's causing them to not go to school, for example, or not have a job. So again, very concerning behavior, but it's going in the large basket for now, their sleep habits. And it's really tempting as a caregiver when you're working through this process to focus on all of those million things in the big basket. And when I myself learned this concept and realized I didn't have to deal with all of that at once, it was just such a burden off of my shoulders, and it made me feel like, okay, one or two things? Yeah, I think we can do that. I think we can accomplish that. And for everyone in the home, it just completely changed the dynamic. And believe me, when you stop focusing on the 1,000 things you think your kid is doing wrong, and you just focus on a few things and you don't even mention the others, your child or teenager is going to notice. They're going to notice the change in you. They're going to notice it big time. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with even maybe sharing with your child, these are our baskets and these are the things we're focusing on. If you'd like to share that with them, you totally can. And then they know that this is something you're standing against as a caregiver. And maybe this is something that you're working on together as a family. Now, this may bother some people in their value system, ignoring all of this stuff. But again, I wanted to mention that we're not saying we're never dealing with what's in the large and the medium basket. We're just saying that first, we're only focusing on this basket. So let's say you're focusing on this basket and you're actively resisting against verbal aggression and property damage, and maybe the property damage stops. Then you're just focusing on the verbal aggression, and maybe over time, the verbal aggression stops. That's when you can start to move things from the medium basket to the small basket. So you might move gaming and school or report card into the small basket, or maybe you're choosing cell phone. Maybe cell phone is just one for now because that's such a big issue. And then that means that gradually other things from the large basket are moving over, are shifting from basket to basket to basket. And then I told you I was going to talk about the rainbow basket. So the rainbow basket represents things that you have noticed as a caregiver your child is doing that kind of warm your heart or make you happy. A lot of times when we're dealing with major behaviors in the home or aggression, it's really hard to focus on things that are going well. So the idea of the rainbow basket is this can even be a secret basket. It might not be something you even tell your child about, but it's for you to notice as a caregiver what's going okay. So maybe you notice one day, for example, that your child eats an apple. So maybe you've been focused on your child eating so much junk food and suddenly you're just blown away because you notice them taking an apple out of the fridge. It's something small, but it's something that you can just note as a caregiver and go, okay, they chose an apple. Maybe you notice that your kid takes out a book from the library and reads it instead of being on their video game all day long. That's again something you can just take note of and be like, hey, my kid's curled up on the couch reading a book for 3 minutes. Maybe they bring home a project from school and they didn't fail. In fact, they passed and they did pretty well on it, and it was without your help. And it's something that you can just stop, take a pause. Okay, that's a rainbow basket item. Our organization does have worksheets and printables where instead of using a physical basket, you could simply write all of this out in lists. You could write down your 1 or 2 things that are in the small basket, write down what's in the medium, write down what's in the large, and keep a running list of your rainbow basket items. So that's a bit about the baskets. I hope that if you're skeptical that you maybe will just give it a try, just simply for the very fact of what I mentioned earlier of lightening your load as a caregiver. And as you go through that process, I'm wishing you every success. Feel free to share this video around and we'll see you next time.